Matter Expert Showcase. We'll begin the showcase in just a few minutes as we allow other people to join us. Thanks again for joining the Rasmussen College Subject Matter Expert Showcase today. Today we're going to talk about World-Class Customer Service 2.0. We have a previous version that's archived on YouTube if you'd like to see the first customer service presentation that was given back in 2012. But this is really about going beyond the basics of customer service, how to make sure you understand what your service level will be, and set customers' expectations appropriately. Just a little bit about me. I've been with Rasmussen College as a campus director for the past 7 years. Prior to that, I spent 18 years in the insurance industry. Most of my adult life and work experience has revolved around working with intangible products. I would say my most valuable customer service lessons were learned right in my parents' home. They owned and operated their own carpet cleaning service since I was a baby. So the phones rang in our house. I went out to job sites with my mom and dad. I learned a lot about how you take care of your customers through working for my family business. My educational experience, I have a Master of Arts in Organizational Leadership and Development from Gonzaga. I'm very proud of my Servant Leadership Certificate that I received at Gonzaga, and my Bachelor of Arts is in Marketing and Management from Metropolitan State University. You can ask questions live. If you're in the Google Hangout, you can ask a question right in the Google Hangout. Otherwise, there's a number of ways that you can provide questions. We will do our best to answer questions live during the session. However, if we don't get to all of the questions today, I will follow up with you directly after the presentation. So please join us, ask questions live. I want to start this showcase really focusing on the definition of customer service. It's really important that we have just a basic definition to work from. I found this in Ron Kaufman's book, Uplifting Service, and I really liked it because it's succinct and clear. Taking action to create value for someone else. Now, you may not use the term customer for the person that you serve. You might use the word student, constituent, partner, patient, or client. Whatever term you use, that's fine, but really I think it gets down to the definition of taking action to create value for someone else. That's really, really important. Last year we talked about your company's mission statement in the last subject matter showcase around customer service and the importance of creating a customer service vision statement. I think that's also equally important. It's a rallying cry for everyone that works in your company to understand how they contribute to taking care of the customers. In Daniel Pink's book, To Sell is Human, he shared the importance of what he called servant selling, which is an evolution of servant leadership, and he really makes the case for taking care of people. His questions really, it relates and lines up really nicely with Robert Greenleaf's questions around servant leadership. If the person you're selling to agrees to buy, will his or her life improve? And when your interaction is over, will the world be a better place than when you began? So if you can answer those questions about your product or service, again, I think it really is a key to delivering excellent customer service, taking care of others. This infographic, I think, is very telling. It talks about what poor customer service costs us. And as you can see, it's estimated that in the U.S. economy, it costs $83 billion a year when you deliver poor customer service. Besides monetary and financial ramifications and consequences, you definitely can lose and tarnish your image. As we know, social media, people tweet, they post Facebook posts about bad customer service, sometimes good, but predominantly when they post things about a company, it's usually a negative comment that's posted in social media. So certainly there's a loss of your reputation. If you have a problem with your product or the service method that you're delivering and your employees are constantly dealing with unhappy customers, you risk losing those loyal employees. They don't want to come into a stressful situation every day and have to deal with unhappy customers day in and day out. The other thing it does relate similarly to revenue is loyalty. You want to have loyal customers that come back and do business with you. The repeat business, if you were to look at, for example, in the insurance and financial services industry, keeping a customer for 10 years, how much revenue that customer actually drives to your business is substantial. Most businesses, it costs more to gain a new customer than keeping an old one. So keeping those customers happy is really, really important. I do want to share a little bit about marketing. If you think about the 4 P's of marketing, for those of you that have a marketing background, this will make total sense. The 4 P's include product, having a great product, having your product priced effectively in the market. Promotion is the 3rd P. How do you promote your product to the general public? And then the 4th and final P is place or distribution. How do you get that product to your customer? I would argue that there's a 5th P, and that is taking care of your people that work for you, as well as the customers that you serve. So again, I would add a 5th P to the 4 P's of marketing. Simon Sinek shared in his book, Leaders Eat Last, that every CEO of Southwest Airlines has always known that their first responsibility is to their people. Serve them, and they will serve their clients. So again, Southwest has a great reputation for delivering exceptional customer service, as well as taking care of their employees. Because many of you on this that are watching this showcase are in different industries, I wanted to find one industry that we could probably all relate to in some fashion. And I thought about airlines. Most of you have probably flown, whether it's for work or pleasure. And I found 3 airlines that I wanted to use for this example. When you think about your choices, and there are many when you fly, how do you select the airline that you fly? So I've picked a high-end elite airline, a value-oriented airline, and then a low-cost or basic airline. So we are going to talk about Asiana Airline, Southwest Airlines, and Spirit Airlines. So again, each one of these airplanes and airlines will probably get you to your destination. If you leave the Twin Cities airport and fly to Orlando, you're going to land with high probability that that flight will be just fine. It's a choice that you make as to the customer service that you want and your service expectations as to the airline that you fly. So let's dig in a little bit and talk about marketing. It's how that brand, how that company promotes itself to customers. Asiana really talks about the exceptional service that they deliver to their customers, a passion for service. Southwest Airlines, it really, again, relates to the customer. If it matters to you, it matters to us. And Spirit Airlines really talks about what they call a bear fare and about unbundling the passenger experience. So it's interesting to see how they portray themselves in the market through their taglines, through their slogans, and their advertising. Let's take a little deeper dive. As we look at Asiana Airlines, their mission is very simple. It's fulfilling customer satisfaction by providing the best in safety, service, and comfort to the body and mind while traveling. Asiana Airlines pursues these values in the name of excellent service and safety. So service, safety, high customer satisfaction is key. Maybe you are aware Asiana had a flight that actually crashed in July of 2013. It was at the San Francisco International Airport. It crashed on its landing, and there were 307 people aboard that flight, 3 fatalities. The NTSB just released their recap of their research that they found. The first thing and reason that what they found with this particular airplane and this flight was pilot error, which is pretty standard. As they went down the list, the 5th thing that they talked about, however, was that, again, 307 people were on that flight, only 3 lost their lives. Now, to those families, that's significant. 3 lives lost is huge. However, 10, 20, 30 years ago, a flight like this, a crash like this, there would have been many, many more deaths. So again, looking at their mission statement about safety, they are fulfilling that. Again, certainly a terrible situation, but if you really consider the fact that 307 people were on that flight and only 3 people lost their lives, that's pretty amazing. As we look at Asiana Airlines, again, their pledge is to be always with you. They have 4 pledges. They really pride themselves on the third-party awards that they've won. They call it the Golden Grand Slam winner. They received Air Transport World's Airline of the Year, Skytrax Airline of the Year, and Global Travelers Airline of the Year. These are very, very high types of awards to receive from the airline industry, something that people really look at. And if you look at their revenue, the numbers of passengers that they serve annually and the employees that they have, it's a pretty impressive. Again, when you look at their advertising, their commercials, they really talk specifically about the third-party awards that they've won and how significant they are. And it really revolves around the level of service that they deliver day in and day out. Now let's look at that mid-level airline, that value-oriented airline, and I picked Southwest Airlines. Their mission is pretty simple: dedication to the highest quality customer service delivered with a sense of warmth, friendliness, individual pride, and company spirit. Their purpose is to connect people to what's important in their lives through friendly, reliable, low-cost air travel. From the top down, I mentioned it earlier, the CEOs are focused on taking care of their employees and their customers. They're very much supportive of servant leadership at the highest level. And it really shows in the way they deliver their service, not only to their employees, but to their customers. Taking a little bit deeper look at Southwest Airlines, their tagline is, "If it matters to you, it matters to us." They have over 46,000 employees. As you look at the awards that they won, the one that I really want to highlight is the one from Glassdoor. I would encourage you to go out to Glassdoor. It's a website where employees have the opportunity to anonymously post feedback about the employer that they work for. And Glassdoor in 2014 recognized them as one of the top places to work, which is amazing. So again, very anonymous feedback from their employees. Fortune magazine ranked them as the 9th most admired company, and Consumer Reports ranked them as number 2 in airline customer satisfaction. So again, great third-party measurements. In addition to that, in 2011, they received over 65,000 external customer commendations about the great work of their people. So they've got a ratio of good to bad. So for their commendations, which again are the compliments that customers are giving them, they get 8 to every 1 of a rude comment from a customer. So I think that's a pretty good ratio as you look at the airline industry. An 8-to-1 ratio, again, 8 commendations to every 1 complaint is really pretty good. As you look at the customer satisfaction index, in 2011, they had a 3% increase overall in the airline industry, and they lead the airline industry with a score of 81%, which is 17% higher than their competition. So Southwest Airlines really prides itself on measuring and monitoring customer satisfaction and feedback, and they do it in very, very detailed ways. Now we're going to take a look at the low-cost or basic level provider, and that would be Spirit Airlines. As you can see, Spirit Airlines is their mission statement is really long. I'm not going to read it for you today, but I'm going to really focus on the customer-oriented, market-responsive air transportation product. Each one of these airlines has had in their mission statement being customer-oriented. So that's been very important to them, as it is to Southwest, as it was to Asiana. However, as we take a little bit deeper look at Spirit Airlines, they talk about having bear fares. And when you look at that a little bit more, when you purchase a ticket at Spirit Airlines, what does that buy you? It buys you a seat on the plane and allows you to go to the bathroom on the flight. That's about it. If you want water, you pay an additional $3 for a cup of water. If you have a bag that you want to stow in a compartment above your seat, you pay a minimum of $35 to stow that bag. It can go up to $100 if you check the bag at the counter. What they really focus on is driving revenue. And what I found interesting is that in that airplane that you fly in, on average, Spirit Airlines has 30 more seats per flight. That's an astounding number. So think about your the space you have with the seat in front of you, the space next to you. It's pretty tight in that airplane. Their CEO proclaimed 2014 the year of the customer. And what they really mean by that is that they're aligning customer expectations with the reality of the service that they provide. Spirit Airlines has received some of the lowest scores by Consumer Report ever given, but they've got one of the highest profit margins in the United States for airlines. They serve over 4.8 million passengers. If you go to Skytrax, and look at the complaints, I would tell you that the vast majority of the comments are complaints versus compliments about the service that they provide. So they are definitely high revenue, but their customers aren't always the happiest with the service that they're provided. If you think about airlines and social media and how impactful social media can be, the next slide that I'm going to share with you is about what consumers tweet about when they talk about airlines. And the vast majority of those customers are tweeting about customer service. And I would say the highest majority of those are complaints versus compliments. The other areas that they tweet about are food and entertainment, baggage handling, timeliness, comfort, and security. But again, 71.4% of the tweets that come through about airlines are related to customer service, which is completely controllable by your staff and by the staff of the airlines. This slide that I have, really the next slide I'm going to show, really highlights Southwest's responsiveness. This tweet came in on May 3rd. It was a customer who had 2 separate Rapid Rewards accounts and he wanted to merge them. That same day, he received a response from Southwest Airlines giving him the toll-free number to merge those accounts. So again, that's really great service. And as a company, you really need to make sure that you are tracking social media and you're responding promptly to anything posted negatively or positively about your company. At this point, I'm going to allow some time for questions. The first question we have is from Sarah. Out of the 3 airlines, which would you prefer to fly if you had to choose one based on their customer service reviews? If I had the money, I would clearly fly Asiana, but I would say the majority of my choices between the 3 would be probably Southwest for the value. I know that they deliver amazing service, so reality says that I'd probably pick Southwest. And Asiana is more of an international airline anyhow. I would steer away from Spirit just based on the experience that I can see in posts from other people that have flown Spirit Airlines. The second question is from Chris, and that is, what's the best way to get your complaint issue heard and addressed? And the follow-up question is, have you ever complained via social media? I would tell you that the best way to get your point across if you have a complaint is to go directly to the company. Now, I personally will go to a manager if I've had a service disruption or something customer service related that has been an issue, and have found that that's really effective. So definitely go to the company and place your concern or your complaint. I don't post negative comments on social media. I will compliment companies, but I just personally find that is not the way I want to project myself, my image, my personal brand image, by posting complaints about companies. I go directly to them. And our third question is from Carrie. Do you believe the level of customer service given from a company is directly related to their profit margins? Meaning better service equals higher profits, lower service equals lower profits. Well, in the examples we showed, if you go back to Spirit Airlines, they have high revenue. They put more people in a plane, and they have more complaints. So that is not always true. It is certainly a choice as to the number of employees you staff on a plane, how you deliver it, and again, specific to the airline industry. You'd have to look at it specific to your own industry. But I don't think that it's always equal to, if better service equals higher profits. That's not always the case. Some companies will lessen the amount of profits that they can glean if they have better customer service, because the majority of those customers will come back and give them repeat business. All right, so those are the 3 questions that we have. We'll move on further into the showcase. So as you think about this next slide, it's what does your problem does your product or service solve for your customers? So this again goes back to your own business. How do you know you're taking care of your customers? What problem do they have? And what is really at the crux or core of what you, your company, and your product service does for your customer? So again, it goes back to, are you putting yourself in elite status? Do you want to be that value-oriented brand? Or do you want to be the low-cost basic provider? And really, it is about aligning your customer expectations with the type of product and the brand that you want to deliver. We are all concerned about becoming extinct. So many industries right now have become commodities, which makes it very difficult because how do you separate yourself when you're a commodity? Typically it's through low price. So as you think about your specific product, your company, it's really how do you make your product or service unique in the marketplace? Do you know who your competitors are? And how can your customers purchase the product? Do they have to come into a retail environment? Can they buy your product online? Those are really important questions to ask. And I'm going to give an example, a personal example that I know, and it is in the insurance and financial services industry. Dick Anderson has been an agent for Country and MSI Insurance for 53 years in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. That's a long time. Anybody that can stay with one company the entire time that they're in insurance is an amazing testament to the person and the company. Within that 53 years, he's experienced competitive rates where he could write a ton of business. He's also experienced the exact opposite. At one time, they had a moratorium and they could not write any new business. But Dick has always held true to the belief that no matter what business you're in, it's always about taking care of the people. And I haven't worked with Dick for over 10 years, but he will reach out to me at a minimum 6 times a year just to check in with me and see how things are going. In fact, he actually came to my campus at Rasmussen College when we first opened back in 2010 and presented to my team about serving people, that no matter what business you're in, it's about serving people. So I've learned a lot over my professional career and learned a lot from Dick himself. So although insurance, you can buy it online, you can buy it over the phone, you can buy it in person, you can buy it from Flo, you can buy it from a Gecko, you can buy it from a number of different ways. But if you're in Menominee Falls, I'm certain that you will buy from Dick Anderson because of the service that he delivers. You really need to understand and know your niche or your niche, however you want to pronounce that word, but understand who you are, who your product is, and how you set yourself apart. I'll give an example at Rasmussen College, what I believe really sets us apart and makes us unique. You may be aware that many of our students work full-time, they've got families, they aren't always taking residential classes. In fact, many of our students are doing their homework at 3 in the morning, midnight, well after our campuses have closed. We have a personal support center that's staffed 24/7 by Rasmussen College employees. So if one of our students has a question, they can call the personal support line at any point, 24/7, and get help. Now, they can't always resolve every situation or issue over the phone. Sometimes those are routed to our campus the next morning to resolve. But no matter what, if a student calls us, they're going to talk to a Rasmussen College employee. And to me, that is a unique part of Rasmussen College and the commitment to our students that we serve, because we do know that many of them, again, aren't going to school from 9 to 5, that they are going to be online at 3 o'clock, and that's when there's going to be a problem or a service disruption. You really, as a business, need to understand who your top customers are. Now, you may look at it as just a revenue generating situation. Who is the most profitable customer for you? You may look at just a year over year, or you may want to look at a 10-year run, because again, it goes back to loyalty. Again, in the financial and insurance business, if you've had a customer for 10 years, the revenue that they've generated for your business is substantial. But if all you're doing is writing new business and they leave you within a year, there's a high cost associated with that. You're getting them in the door, they're going through like a revolving door, and it's really expensive. You never get to build a deep relationship with a customer, which really ends up costing you a lot of time and money. You really need to understand who is loyal to your brand. You may or may not have raving fans. I hope that you do. And those raving fans are the people that are going to be in the market. They're going to be talking to their friends, to their family, and if someone asked them what college should you go to, I would hope that they would talk at Rasmussen about Rasmussen College, that Rasmussen College is a place that our students would promote. You also need to consider, as far as who is your best customer, who provides the most referrals. Now, that is sometimes a little bit trickier to track, but I hope that you have a way of capturing that information, because referrals are key. If you're doing a great job for your customers, they're more than likely going to tell their friends and family if they're asked Who should I do business with? Who should I buy insurance with? Where should I go to school? Where should I buy a car? Word of mouth and reputation is so huge. As you think about delivering outstanding service, you really need to make sure, like Spirit Airlines talked about, is setting realistic expectations with your customers. It goes back to very basic mechanics of honoring your promises, talking the talk and walking the walk. In the research I did for this presentation, I looked at Starbucks, and Starbucks talked about how they handle customer complaints, and they have the acronym LATTE. It's a coffee company, right? That makes sense. The L stands for listening to your customers. The A stands for acknowledging their complaint. The first T stands for taking action. And the second T stands for thanking them. And the E stands for explaining why the problem occurred. So any one line-level employee at Starbucks has that acronym LATTE, and they really think about it. They also encourage everybody at Starbucks to be able to answer the question, when a customer is unhappy, what should I do? Fill in the blank. And I would highly encourage that you, individually, and all your employees think about that. If a customer complains, how do I handle it? And don't assume, this is a tip that I always have to remind myself too, is don't get distracted. When someone comes to you, don't assume that you know that what their problem is. Deeply listen, pay attention, be present when they're talking to you. There's nothing more discouraging when you're on the phone with somebody, when you hear them typing, or when you know that they're not paying attention to you. Especially, so many of the complaints that we see are either through email or a voicemail. For me, when I have a student that complains and they send it through email, I pick up the phone and call them. And ideally, I want them to come to my campus and talk to me. That isn't always possible, so I will handle complaints if I have to over the phone. But ideally, I really want to sit down face-to-face with them so I get to really understand the problem. And then set realistic expectations and timelines of how you can handle, when you will handle the complaint. A lot of times you aren't going to be able to just snap your finger and solve the problem like that. You're going to need to do some more research. You're going to need to resolve the issue, but give them a realistic timeline and expectation. And always, again, under-promise and over-deliver. If you say that you're going to get back to them by Wednesday, make sure you get back to them by Wednesday. These are just key basics, but really important, and sometimes this is what truly businesses forget and they lose sight of, is that it's sometimes the littlest thing that means the most to your customers. As we're just about to wrap up this presentation, just a few more things as you think about delivering exceptional service to your customers. Adam Grant, the author of Give and Take, shared this: as the service sector continues to expand, more and more people are placing a premium on providers who have established relationships and reputations as givers. So Adam Grant, in his book, reached out to one of the CEOs of the largest banks in Australia, and they looked at financial advisors, and they were trying to determine what was the most successful thing, what was the difference that differentiated someone from being successful and unsuccessful as a financial advisor. And the single most influential factor of success was simply this: whether a financial advisor had the client's best interest at heart, or if they had their own best interest at heart, or the company's. So again, that was the defining factor. Did they really care deeply about their customer and do what was in their best interest, or did they worry about themselves and the revenue that they would generate for that customer? I would tell you that something that can be hugely impactful is saying thank you. You can never say it too much or too often. However, in many instances, in the electronic instant gratification world that we live in, so many people will write a quick thank you note by email, and I think that's great and fine. Sometimes that's the best and quickest, but I don't think it's always the most impactful. I read this book, A Simple Act of Gratitude, a couple years ago, and in this book, the author shared that he was going to write a thank you note each and every day. Now, I don't think that is necessarily extreme and that's what you'll do, but could you write a thank you note once a week? Could you say thank you to a customer? Could you say thank you to an employee? Personalize that to your employee, to your customers. The last tip that I'll give you is really making sure that you're supporting your local businesses. Be a connector. If you want and expect referrals, make sure that you give those referrals and that you're sharing great businesses in your local community. At Rasmussen College, we're very supportive of local chambers. I sit on the board of 2 of the biggest Twin City boards here with the Twin West Chamber and Metro North Chamber. And when I have an opportunity to purchase locally, I go right to the chamber, to their guide, and find out if there's a local provider, whether it's a restaurant, a promotion company that I can do business with to support a local chamber member. At this time, I'm going to take questions. Last question that I have is it easier to retain a customer by providing outstanding service, or is it easier just to get new customers? And I think we did cover this a little earlier in the presentation. If you're just a revolving door, it's going to cost you more to secure new customers. If you think about the advertising that you have to do and to get that customer, retaining customers definitely is a cheaper way of doing business and probably a better way overall. Again, retention is huge. You make more revenue typically, and it takes less time to serve those customers year over year. That's the last question. Again, if there are additional questions that come in online, I'll be happy to respond to them. I really appreciate you taking the time to participate in the Rasmussen College Subject Matter Expert Showcase. Stay tuned. There will be additional showcases in the future. And again, thank you for participating.